This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded live Saturday, 9 March 2013, episode 58, Diving Utopia. Well, good evening once again, everybody. Welcome to another exciting and very noisy episode of Two Guys Who Dive. I'm your host, Rob Wade, and not with me here this evening is Robert Garza, also known as Scuba Bob. He is preparing for an event at church, and so he's got some rehearsals that have to do with that. So he's going to be working on that. Has been working on it feverishly, I guess. It's my understanding after exchanging some texts with him today. So he won't be with us this evening, so wish him well with his final rehearsals, preparations, all that good stuff. Having done a number of shows, both singing shows, Tops and Blue, also stage plays in community theater and competition, etc., I am well familiar with all the work that goes into getting ready for some sort of for a performance or an event like that. So wish him well with that. Today's been pretty busy for me. Been trying to recover, if you can probably tell. Been trying to recover. I have dogs going around the studio here. They like these little squeaky toys. I have to show you. Our dogs love these little stuffed, let me switch cameras here. These little stuffed toys, they're actually not stuffed, but they have little squeaky toys in them, and they love them. They end up getting into wrestling matches. Go for it. And the craziness starts. And here comes a regular appearance by Ronan. Your ear. All right, say hi to everybody. Oh, come on, you gotta say hi. There we go. He's my buddy. He always has to sit in the chair behind me, so I rarely get to actually sit back in this chair, which can be very uncomfortable after a while. So anyway, been trying to recover from whatever this is that's been going around. Started in my sinuses and then went into coughing fits and sneezing fits, and then went down into upper respiratory. It had me down and out for a better part of the week. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to call in sick because we had so much junk going on at work. I deal with computers, networks, etc. So there was a lot of stuff going on, things to deal with, and so I really couldn't afford to take the time off. But unfortunately, what that does is it makes it much more difficult to actually get better, get well, because you can't rest as much. So I've been trying to rest where I can. So I am feeling somewhat better. Got up this morning to continue some work that we've been doing. I probably shared a few podcasts ago. Our church is sponsoring an orphanage over in Mexico, and the couple that runs that orphanage recently have rented a house in the United States in Del Rio, and unfortunately this house was in a severe state of disrepair. So we, our church, got the guys together to do some work to kind of renovate, repair, upgrade certain things. We didn't get it all done on the first weekend, so we had another weekend, another Saturday today to work on that. So I couldn't do nearly as much as I was hoping to, because it just took a lot out of me trying to keep from coughing fits, etc. But we did get some more work done, and so it's fun seeing the transformation of a house. It's just a disaster. It's a prime candidate for one of those flip this house episodes. And so we got some work done. Still some work to go, but still a fruitful, worthwhile endeavor. Also, last week we were having some interesting problems that probably translated in. Any of you who were watching the show live probably realized that we're having some traffic problems. And as it turns out, I discovered that the fans, the cooling fans for my primary server, which I have an actual network here at the studio, at the house, with an actual domain server that runs websites as well as stores our music and media, etc. And then we also have an email server. Well, the file server, which also holds our websites, the cooling fan for both the CPU and for the main case itself were failing. The one on the CPU would barely spin at all, so the CPU was overheating, and the kind of system board I have on this server, of course, it shuts the whole machine down if the temperature goes too high, which is great, but as far as protecting the equipment, protecting investment, however, what it does create is a problem of making the traffic start to have problems, because that's my primary DNS server. And again, I'm going way over the heads of most of you folks who watch this, but just the DNS server is kind of like the address book, or the traffic cop of when traffic is moving. It knows, well, this website means this and this website means that, and points to where those locations are. Now, obviously, the backups were working, but it just slows everything down when it's trying to hit the primary, and then it has to go to the secondary. So it also meant that it was difficult to pull up files. If the machine is going up and down, it's difficult to pull up files that I need for either the pre-show or the post-show, or even during. If there's videos that sometimes we add into the podcast that you see in the show, in the netcast, that they're typically coming from the server. So if we happen to be playing a video in one of the scenes that we're using in the netcast, and the server goes down, then we have problems, obviously, with the video. So it was annoying, painful, and this is Del Rio after all, and so there are no Best Buys, no electronic stores, really. There's Radio Shack, which, I'm sorry, back in my day, Radio Shack was a place where you could get electronic parts. You could get your transistors and diodes and capacitors, and you could get your cooling fans, and you could get all sorts of things for computers and other electronics. Now it's basically, they sell you cell phones. Half the store is stupid cell phones or iPods or stereo systems and toys and some computer stuff, but nothing really worthwhile. Radio Shack is nearly a useless store anymore. Unfortunately, so for those of us who are more tech-minded and know how to work on our own gear and would prefer to be able to repair something on the fly, it's very difficult to do. And in this case, our store happened to sell some fans, but they were more generic, or they were the lit up ones. If you want to seriously pimp out your computer with the lighted gear, they had the light up fans, which are, what a waste of money. Unless you're doing LAN parties, who sees that stuff? So anyway, so I finally was able to get a couple of fans that I made work. Unfortunately, they weren't specifically the exact size, but they were a little bit oversized, but they were going to cool it well enough. And so far, I got that going yesterday. And so thankfully, the server's been running with no issues, and certainly quieter. When fans are starting to go, they get really, really loud, and it gets annoying. And so glad to have the server back up in full swing. It's a pain when you rely heavily on a piece of equipment for everything in your media center, your house, your studio, whatever it is. So back to normal there. Now, speaking of computer stuff, interestingly, of course, we just had the Mobile World Congress, and really Microsoft wasn't much in the way of presenter. They were sort of there, but Nokia had some stuff, which we talked about last week, and Samsung and Huawei and some of the other OEMs had some stuff out there. But on the heels of that, Samsung decided they're going to get all uppity about Windows 8. So Jun Dong-soo, I assume I'm pronouncing the name right, who happened to be the president of the memory chip division in Samsung, decided that he wanted to get his 15 minutes of fame, and in an interview basically slammed Windows 8. He said, among other things, he said that Windows 8 is no better than Windows Vista, and points out that that marketing is shifting to tablets. And that's true to a large extent, but that just means that people are getting multiple devices. They may have computers that are still good, especially if they just bought, let's say, a Windows 7 computer the last year or two. Excuse me. They're probably not in the market to go out and buy a brand new computer just yet. And I'll be the first to admit, as much of a Windows 8 fan as I am, there's nothing compelling about Windows 8 for the desktop that would make you go out and just buy a new machine. If you're going to get a new machine, chances are it's going to be a Windows 8 machine. Now, if you want a tablet, now that's the reason, in my opinion, to go out and get something that's Windows 8 based. Windows 8 clearly is moving to a touch-centric interface, but it still holds on to the desktop. I have no issues with Windows 8. I use it on every machine in the studio, except obviously the servers, and all of our laptops have Windows 8. No issues. I make it work very well with a keyboard or mouse. Now, having said that, a friend of ours at work did have the Surface Pro, and I got to play with that with that a little bit, and I absolutely love that device. It's smooth. It's fast. It looks awesome. Love the feel of it. Love the way it's built. Love the fact that it could easily replace my laptop, but still be a tablet, which is awesome. But interestingly, Samsung, who is not an innovator, Samsung doesn't invent stuff. They take other people's designs and then they optimize or they shrink it, or they do things with it. They're the big mass producers. And they'll even admit it to some extent that they're not innovators. They don't come up with new stuff. In fact, if you look at all of their Windows phones, those are basically just rebranded Android phones. That's really where they're making their money. They're number one in the market purely because they flood the market with, in my opinion, mostly garbage. There are some exceptions, but most of their stuff is just cheap junk. It feels cheap in your hand. It doesn't last long. There are just very few exceptions to that statement. So it's just, I find it hilarious that Samsung wants to step up and claim that Windows 8 is no better than Vista. Vista was a dog all the way through. It never improved enough to make it worth holding on to. When Windows 7 came out, it was absolutely wonderful. And the thing is, what most people don't realize, and what the naysayers keep saying, is that Windows, they don't miss, what they miss is that Windows 8 is Windows 7 with a touch, with the Metro concept front end or interface added to it. A lot of it is rewritten, but it operates just the same. I can do exactly the same things that I did on Windows 7 devices on these Windows 8 machines. I bought no new computers. I upgraded everything to Windows 8, with the exception of my wife, who had the oldest machine in our household, We did get her a new computer, and it came with Windows 8, and it's awesome. But have no issues. It runs old legacy software that I have, which was one of the big critical things for me, because I do have a music studio as well, and so I have some legacy hardware that I connect to it. So it was important that it be able to talk to my keyboards and sound modules, etc. And it does. Had no issues. The challenge that many people seem to have, and I think it's totally up here, they choose to resist it, is getting used to the fact that the live tile interface is there. I would love to sit down with every naysayer and sit and show them how I use Windows 8 from the most basic machine that I have, where I don't do a lot of stuff with it, it's just kind of there for play, to my studio machine here that does all the heavy lifting for the studio. Works equally well in all those environments. And so it frustrates me when people insist, oh, well, they need to bring the start button back. You know what? That's what the start screen is. That is your start button. Get a hold of the idea that that is now where all of your programs need to live. I have nothing on my desktop anymore. Any app, any programs that have to run in legacy mode, they're pinned to my start. That is where I go to run everything. And so if I need to run Word 2013, I've got a live tile for that. So I click it and it starts it over on the desktop. So I run it in the desktop. I have no problem with legacy programs that run on the desktop. That is the location they run. So why is that a difficult concept? But so many people seem to, they can't put their big boy or big girl panties on and get over their legacy hang-ups. It's time to move on. It's time to put the buggy whip down. We've done put away the buggies. We're now moving on to the automobiles. So put the buggy whips down. That's what I'm saying. So Samsung, you can just kiss my grits, as Flo used to say on whatever that 70s show was. So, okay. If you've watched the podcast at all, you've probably followed some of our conversations between Scuba Bob and I about the Second Amendment and how it's being assaulted in this country. Oh, by the way, this is my Mark Rubio moment. So anyway, all you people who whine about that just need to get over yourselves too. So anyway, big Second Amendment fan. Actually, I'm a big Constitution fan. I believe it makes very clear the enumerated powers of our government. And that means that there are things they specifically are allowed to do. The rest of it is left to the people of the states. It's, that's basically what the Constitution says. And yet, unfortunately, what we have is a nation now where everyone from states down to municipal governments are totally dependent upon the almighty Uncle Sam. And that's exactly the opposite of how it was supposed to happen. We just had a Atlas Shrugged party / birthday party this past Monday. A friend of ours was celebrating her birthday. And we also were gathering folks together to watch part 2 of Atlas Shrugged, the movie adaptation of the book by Ayn Rand. Everybody had already seen part 1 via Netflix or other methods. And so we were watching part 2 and very anxious for part 3 coming out next year. If you've never read the book, if you've never read the book, please do. If the book, it's a long book. If you can't quite stomach that, at least watch parts 1 and 2 of the movie adaptation. It is well worth it. It takes a very good picture of, considering it was written in the 40s and just updated for today. But basically, it predicted exactly what we're going through. And tied to the issues discussed in the book and the movie, the Second Amendment makes it very clear we're allowed to bear arms. What we need them for, not anybody's business but our own. Unfortunately, because there are people who are very, very emotionally tied up in the tragedies that have happened, the unnecessary deaths that have occurred because that were where semi-automatic rifles, etc., were the tool used to exact harm, to kill people, to damage people and property, that has caused people to overreact. And unfortunately, they're acting completely out of emotionalism and ignorance. So recently, Colorado has been going through. They had 7 bills up for that passed their house, and were up Friday for vote in the Senate, or rather a voice vote, with the expectation they would go on to the governor to sign. He says he doesn't hate the Second Amendment. He doesn't hate guns. He's not anti-gun. I'm sorry, that's a lie. He said he's going to sign this stuff, so it tells me exactly where he's at. So the problem is, there were two of the bills that did not pass, basically because the sponsors realized that they, with all the rancor that was being riled up over it, that they weren't going to be able to get enough votes. But the other 5 did pass, and so they just are waiting to go to the governor. So what passed were new laws that extend background checks to private gun sales. Meaning, if you have a weapon and you want to sell it to a friend, you have to do the background check. I'm like, how is that enforceable? And how is that? Basically, that just sets you up for universal gun registration. That's exactly what that does. Also, gun buyers must pay for their own background checks. So not only are you being screwed, but you're having to pay for the privilege of getting screwed by a heavy-handed totalitarian government. Then on top of that, they're limiting the magazine and shotgun capacity. We've shown a video that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's impossible for that to actually save any lives. If you force me to have a weapon that only has 15 rounds, because that's evidently what this is limited to, then instead of 30 rounds, instead of one clip with 30 rounds, I'll get 2 clips with 15 rounds, and I will easily pop the clip, put another one in, or pop the mag and put another one in, and continue firing. For those of you who really are blind and ignorant as to what a semi-automatic rifle is, it is not an assault rifle. An assault rifle is something that is fully automatic. Unfortunately, the liberal-minded people, the people who hate the Second Amendment, that hate that people that have weapons, they have hijacked that word and assigned it to semi-automatic rifles. A semi-automatic rifle simply automates the method of ejecting the spent shell and moving the next bullet into the chamber. No difference. No different than if you have a bolt action and can do it really fast. And I've seen on YouTube, there's some people who can do bolt action rifles as fast, if not faster, than people with semi-automatic rifles can go. Okay? But the simple fact is, you have to pull the trigger for every single bullet. You can use a revolver the same way. There are people who are that fast with the revolver, too. As a matter of fact, it's almost like a machine gun, how fast they can use a revolver. So the bottom line is a semi-automatic rifle is no more or less dangerous than any other regular weapon. So this is merely an attempt by those who hate the Second Amendment to incrementally take away our right to bear arms. This is just the start. It's gonna get worse, I promise you, because they've already tried it before with banning the semi-automatic rifles. So and they tried it again this time, and we still have in our federal government an attempt to do so. This is just Colorado that's passed these things. So automatic rifles being reduced to 15 rounds or 10 rounds are not going to, it's not going to save a single life. Period. It's not. I defy anybody who actually has handled a weapon to show me otherwise. I dare you. I'll bring you on the show. I'll Skype you into this podcast. I will exchange emails with you. I'll take you on in a national forum. It's just wrong to go after the Second Amendment like that. Now, also, one of the laws that was passed in Colorado, or that's about to be signed by the governor, is they plan to confiscate guns from domestic violence offenders. Now, I'll be the last one to say that we should be handing tools for harm to people who have a tendency towards domestic violence or any violence. But that actually speaks to a bigger issue that many of us have been trying to push, and that's the mental health issue, which is also a very slippery area that we have to be careful of. But that is what's in common with these kinds of things. People who have an inability to manage their anger. It doesn't matter what tool they use, whether it's a gun or a knife or a bat. If they want to exact violence against somebody, they're gonna exact violence against somebody with whatever tool that they feel is gonna satisfy what they're trying to do. The problem is when you say it's okay to confiscate something from someone, what's to stop you from stretching the definition to give you more leeway? So what do they qualify as a domestic violence offender? Could they then say somebody who has the potential? If you file a restraining order on somebody and they decide, you know what, you would qualify as a domestic violence offender, even though if they've never actually done anything, suddenly they're going, okay, do you have any weapons? We have to take them. And they bust in your door and take your weapons. It just, again, slippery slope. The last thing that they passed, or that they're about to pass, that the Senate and the House passed, it's just waiting for signature, is banning online certification for concealed carry permits. I would have to look more at the details of how that's worded. That's probably the one measure that I'm not entirely against. Knowing that in the state of Texas, we actually have concealed carry certification, but you go through an actual course. You don't do it online. I understand some states do actually have an online method to get this. I think it actually is much better if you're going to get a concealed carry certification, that just like as a scuba diver, you actually go, there are some methods, there are some opportunities to get certain certifications for scuba diving online, that they're basically academic. But most of your ones where there is a safety factor, there is a potential life or death aspect to it, or some other practical skill that's tied to it. There are actual dives and classroom that you go through. Same thing in Texas with the concealed carry. You go through an actual course, and you don't just learn about how to properly handle the weapon, but you'll learn about proper storing, securing, conflict resolution. So basically you can hopefully avoid getting to a point where you need to use deadly force. Before you can, so you go through all of that, firing the weapon, etc., before you even can get the certification. I love that. I think that's the smart way to go, and I think actually anybody who owns a weapon should voluntarily go through a course like that. Even if you just do it the one time, even if you're not going for the certification to carry a concealed weapon, just go through the course, so it just makes you smarter about being a gun owner. But evidently in Colorado that's not required, so they're now moving to ban online certification. So I would have to see the details on it, but again, I think that flies in the face of what Coloradans originally had chosen for their state. And it should really be based on the state, what the states are going to do. You know, it just angers me that the federal government has taken over so many things under false pretense. We've allowed it to happen. We have laid down our right to individual freedom. We have laid down our right for the sake of what we call security. So it's going to be interesting to see what battles are ahead. I'm now a card-carrying NRA member, so I will be battling where I can against Second Amendment offenses like this. And I'll be happy to take on anybody on the Constitution or any of these topics as well. Bring it. I will destroy you. So, okay, so now on to more fun things. The title of the episode this week is Diving Utopia. A while back we had talked about potentially setting up some future episodes where we would share some of the diving experiences that we've had in some more exotic climes, because that's really where it's the most fun to do these things, is to go out to really different environments than your local area. Although I definitely am a strong advocate for diving in your local area, supporting your local area. We dive here at Lake Amistad, even as the lake is getting lower and lower. But we dive at San Felipe Creek, and we go up to Balmorhea and other areas. So we support that. But we also try every other year, if not every year, to go to some really, really awesome places. And so we've one of the ones that we'd like to feature a little bit this time is Utila, which is an island. It's part of the Honduras. There's a island reef chain there. And let me bring up a picture here. Hello. Oh, there we go. There's Tara and I on our getting ready to take our little hop over to the island. On the next pic here. This is flying over some of the smaller little atolls there, and you can see a wreck. And we're looking out the window of our airplane, obviously, and you see a wreck that's beached there, just off the atoll. Beautiful water out there. Okay, and this is flying over the actual island of Utila, and you can see we're circling around to get ready to make our approach, the little runway there. And that's the main city. I forget the name of the capital city there. But beautiful, beautiful island. And as you might expect from a somewhat third world country in Central America, not a lot of modern looking, well kept buildings there. You see the roads are very narrow, so you get around these really skinny trucks, Jeep type devices, automobiles, almost not much bigger than like a Cushman cart, but and they have obviously they have all the basic stuff. It was interesting, they did have Wi-Fi there, but cell service and then Wi-Fi, but cell service doesn't reach far outside the city itself, which became a challenge for us while we were there. Here was a dock where we were getting ready to load up on a boat that actually would take us to the Utopia Village resort that we were staying at, which is an awesome resort. We're going to show you some pictures here in a minute. It was really neat. Everybody was so very friendly. They spoke English pretty well. A lot of stuff has to get shipped in to the island. And speaking of that, here are the containers that get loaded in and loaded out. They bring in various supplies, etc., for the stores, such as they are, etc. And then they would pile all the empty containers, the shipping crates, they would pile them all back out there to be picked up basically and exchanged for the next shipment. It's kind of neat. Here are here's some of the bungalows there at Utopia Village. Now the interesting thing here is this was literally, it was on the opposite coast from the main city where everybody lives, and all of this was basically cut out of the wild by hand by locals. So all the materials were local materials. They kind of prided themselves on using almost no imported materials, goods, etc. to build this place. They cleared the area. They used dredged up dead coral and shell material and used that to create their beach. So it was a very unique looking beach. And oh, by the way, this tree that you see in the foreground looks like it has, green with the kind of the peeling red bark or skin off of it. They call this a tourist tree because typically the tourists come here and they don't put enough sunscreen on, and then they sunburn and then they peel. So they call these tourist trees because they look like they're sunburned and they're peeling. But anyway, these bungalows were very, very, everything was very eco-friendly. The owners of the Utopia Village are actually from the United States. There's a couple from Dallas and a couple of them from New York and Maryland areas. And they all got together to fund and build this. They designed it themselves. They built it with local labor and, of course, obviously their own efforts. Everything's very efficient and very, very nice looking. I was just really impressed with the place. The bedrooms were awesome. I thought that was they were very meticulous about their choice of decor. Very simple approach, but yet very, very apropos to the area and very comfortable. Basically, a sort of a one-room efficiency with the attached, full bathroom, etc. If you look up here at the upper left of the screen, you see the where the light is and a little window that opens up to look out the back of the bungalow. Right above that is what I had never seen these kind of air conditioners before. Now they're actually pretty common, but very, very efficient. And I tell you, without using a lot of electricity, this thing kept the whole place nice and cool and comfortable the whole time we were there. It was awesome. Here's stepping out the bungalow. Just stepping off the steps. They built all this up. It was very, very scenic, very, very comfortable. You could walk around in the heat of the day, and this really kept you comfortable. The nice ocean breeze running through the leaves. It was just beautiful, beautiful. Everything's kind of low hanging, gorgeous. Here's another view. Headed over towards the big, what's the word I'm looking for? The pagoda, where the bar is, that everybody hung around and you could relax. that's off to the right here. You kind of see a little bit of it through the leaves of the trees, but you see how thick, even though it looks like there's not a lot of trees there, the foliage is so heavy that it just creates a nice, comfortable area. What was funny is you could get up early enough in the morning before it got too warm, and you would see iguanas everywhere. It's pretty neat. And if you walked out on the beach, you'd see crabs, little sand crabs running around. And just one of the nice little beach accommodations. I tell you, it's just, this is like every commercial you've ever seen that talks about beer or something like that. You see them sitting at a place like this, and it was beautiful. The one downside, I think, was probably the sand fleas. That Tara, my wife, seemed to get eaten up quite a bit by those, and they just didn't touch me. I didn't get bit at all. I don't know if it was because I had the right deodorant on or no deodorant at all. I don't know, but they just didn't bother me. They seemed to bother just about everybody else that wasn't used to living there. One of the owners had their little pet dachshund. Of course, we're big Doxy fans, and this one was a little chunky, but this little love ball loved the water. But of course, you know, the oceans are tough to swim in, and if they could get swept away. So they had a little handle, life jacket with a handle for the dog. It was just hilarious, so cute. Now here we were on one of our dive excursions with our dive master. Or actually, she was dive master getting ready to get tested for instructor. Now this was before I actually was an instructor. I already had my advanced at this point. But she was awesome. She was very funny, very talented, very, very comfortable as a diver. She didn't make you feel pressured. She was very attentive to where everyone was at on their as far as their skill level, which is important. We've talked about this before. If you're going to be a good instructor, if you're going to be a good assistant instructor or dive master, you have to be very attuned, paying attention to the other divers. That's your focus. Once you shift from, you know, your basic or advanced advanced certifications, you get into rescue diver and dive master. You now shift your skill sets into off of self and even your dive buddy, and you're now paying attention to everything and everybody, looking for potential problems or ways to assist people. And so I actually encourage people to go that route. Even if you don't end up doing it professionally, it just puts you to a different level as a diver. That just makes you a better dive buddy. And here are some of the owners and some of the guests at the actual pavilion there. It was an awesome little place to get together. Yeah, the alcohol flowed quite freely every evening, but just it was a nice, relaxing time. Everybody was extremely friendly and very helpful. So the diving in Utila. Now this was we had some disappointment here, and it was through no fault at all of the folks at Utopia Village. It was actually more due to the fact that we kind of planned this dive this location because we really wanted to see whale sharks, and this was one of the places that seemed to have the most frequent, at least in the Caribbean, some of the most frequent opportunities to see and dive with whale sharks. And unfortunately, we didn't see one. We did get to jump in with a wild pod of dolphin, which was kind of neat, kind of chasing around with them, but no whale sharks. And compared to other places we've gone diving, the coral life, the sea life wasn't. I don't feel it was as plentiful or had as much variety as we were used to seeing. But my worst dive was still an awesome dive. So I had a great time, and here are just some pictures of some of the things that we got to see while we were there. See a little one of the little shrimp. Believe it or not, that's considered a shrimp inside a coral. And some of the typical corals that you'll see there. I actually saw a lot of brain coral, though I don't think I have any pictures of it here. Just beautiful. Oh, there we go. There's some brain coral. Visibility was a little tough because evidently they had a lot of rains before, so the runoff from the coast, because this is an island off the coast of the Honduras, so they get a lot of when the rainy season hits, or if they had storms, then what happens is a lot of that gets there's runoff that gets introduced into the currents around the island, so it drops visibility. Some more coral, and you see, I forget what kind of worm that is, but you see, just so colorful. Gorgeous. This is one of the wrecks that we dove on. I always enjoy diving on wrecks, and this is one that people tended to bring things down and leave on the boat. You see somebody left a picture of Jesus, and somebody left a hat. Interesting choices. And although it's hard to tell from this picture, this was a very good sized fish. Got really close. They're so used to people, they just don't. And we're not a threat, generally. Here are a bunch of us. This is our dive master in the lead here. As you can see, the visibility again was not top notch, but still was great. And here's Tara and I. Here's a nice picture of us, taken from just a little bit below. Oh, that's interesting. That got sideways. We were dropped off a wall. For some reason, this picture is turned sideways, even though it doesn't look that way in the preview. Here's another wreck that we were on. See how much the coral just it claims this stuff. So anytime we have these reefs intentionally created by the sinking of ships, the ocean claims it, can utilize it. It's adaptable. Here's another shot. One of our group was actually going up, following the line, and I thought it made a good image, so got a shot of that. Here's another view. Some more things that people leave on there. There was actually another bike that was dropped on the sand down below. I thought I had a picture of somebody actually trying to ride it. It was kind of interesting. And here are barracuda. Now, what was so neat is because at first you kind of glance over, and they stand out so much when they're grouped like this, and against the deep blue, and then against the hovering over the sand like that. It was just a great image. But there's so many people that are like, "Oh, barracuda! Are you afraid of barracuda?" I'm not afraid of barracuda. They don't mess with you. They got better things to do. Just don't antagonize the sea life, and it won't antagonize you. But this was a great shot. Flying fish. So funny, we'd be cruising along and all of a sudden you'd see these things just sailing out of the water. It was great. Another big, big fish. This thing was about as long as me. Beautiful. And flounder. You had to watch really carefully to catch some of these. This one was stood out a little bit more than most, but it was still a good shot. It's so neat the way these change color to match their surroundings. And then, of course, Trish, who has shown up on the podcast as far as texting or in the chat room a time or two, and she does a lot of traveling. She's a dive master. I love diving inverted, so she saw me, and so she flipped around and got inverted as well. If you don't have any problems with equalization, this is actually a good practice for buoyancy control, because you have to think differently about where you're looking and how you control yourself. So this is good. This is a good alternative exercise for buoyancy control. When we teach the class, we use the fin pivot or the knee pivot, and then we use the hover, which typically kind of sit in a yoga position and cross leg and grab your fins, and then you hover for 30 seconds and without moving up and down in the water column. But this one is even more challenging when you're upside down. I can actually, and I've shown this on video from Balmoral before, I've gotten good enough at this that I can cruise just mere inches off the bottom, and just bending at my knees and kicking my fins, I can push myself along and control my movement for many minutes, for yards, moving forward upside down. But then again, like I said, you have to make sure you don't have any issues with equalization, because it's actually harder typically for your ears, your eustachian tubes, to clear properly when you're upside down, which is why we typically will teach we teach you the feet first descent. But generally, when if I'm not having any sinus issues, I'm not teaching a class, I can do a head first descent very fast. And of course, very common to see the stingrays out there. And you'll see the tail out behind this. What got the crocodile hunter into trouble, what ended up costing him his life, was he came up on one kind of from this position. He came out actually from lower and behind, and came up on it, and so it wasn't ready for him. And so when he came up right over the top of it, it got scared, and its defense mechanism is to take that stingray, that tail, and there's a barb in it that's poisonous, and it will strike upward. It will actually flip it kind of like a scorpion. And unfortunately, he was in the wrong spot, and it shoved that thing right into his heart. You know, it's one thing if you get it in an arm or a leg, it's going to be painful, but you're going to survive it. But when it goes in your heart, that toxin goes right there. So he had no choice. He had no chance. Another one of the fun things that you hopefully will get to do when you're diving in some of these places that are what we call swim-throughs, where they're basically coral and rock that has created where there are gaps and holes where you can actually swim through. They're kind of like little cenotes or tunnels, cavelets or whatever. And these are just fun. Anytime I can do a swim through, that's when you really feel like you're part of the environment. And this was just awesome. This was me in the lead, and then Tara's right there closest to the camera. And then as we start to disappear, and actually this went around, and then you came up through a small opening on the top. And of course, you see your sea turtles. None of them were very big here. And say so by very big, and not very big. I mean they're the size of a good sized pillow. We saw one monster one that was as big as bigger than an 18-wheeler's truck tire. When we were in Boca Raton, that was awesome. But it's so fun to watch the turtles, especially if you catch them feeding, because they actually chew on the coral. And then you'll see a lot of times the other fish, particularly angelfish, will hang around because they're catching what the turtles, which use their beaks to they're very hard to really chop it away at the coral. Whatever they don't eat, the fish are like, oh, cool, we get the scraps. Here's a good close-up of that turtle. Beautiful creature. And obviously, you don't want to touch them. Don't want to mess with them. You just leave them be. Just let them do their thing, go their own way, eat their food, whatever they're going to do. And nice little shot through one of the holes at Tara and I. And then another one. You always saw us together. See how close we are sticking together as dive buddies? It's important because if either of us got into trouble, we know the other one is right there. There's no looking for where they're at. These are neat. If you move your hand over them, they would actually retract into the little tube part of the body. Pretty cool. Here's another one of the swim-throughs. Just beautiful shots. Love these. I could spend all day there if I could actually handle the nitrogen buildup. Just beautiful. Could have used more light here to bring out the color, but we're pretty shallow. I think we're working our way up. One of the gray angelfish. These actually in good light really are much more brilliant, because where you see the kind of gray, the darker blue hint, it's actually pretty bright blue when there's plenty of light. Just beautiful. And another shot of Tara and I. I was still using my original gear too, the stuff that I bought in the year 2000. This was 2007, I think. So I'm still using the gear. I still have it. It's still in good shape. And that takes care of that. So, yeah, Utila is an awesome trip if you can make it. Utopia Village is an awesome place. They take care of you. They have some of the best food. I hope the chef that they had when we were there is still there, because his dinners, his lunches, his concoctions are a treat. He is truly a 5-star chef. And, I mean, he's just a kid, but he knows how. Presentation and taste, it's just... You look forward all day to whatever he was going to come up with. It was just fantastic. Mostly it was stuff that he was able to make out of things that they bought locally. I mean, the island brings stuff in, so he would obviously order things that were specific to the types of cooking that he did, but generally his ideas were things that were based on local cuisine, which was awesome. So if you want to check them out, I got their website up here. Just go to utopiautila.com. Check out their website. They've got they've got some videos. See, there's a whale shark that we wanted to see. Some of their underwater videos gives you some explanation of the Bay Islands. They've got rates and packages, the activities that they do. Let's see, site plan. There we go. Yeah, here, this is pretty awesome. So you can see the beach down below there. So we were staying in where it says hotel and hotel. We were on the upper one, the first floor of that upper one. Then there was a one L-shaped. The main building is where they had TV. You could watch videos. They had a nice little dining area, etc. And then the dive bar is where we spent a lot of our time hanging out. And what's neat is the generator for power, although they did have electricity, they also ran off generator too. It was all very efficient, but it was away from everything, so it wasn't, if it did have to spin up, it wasn't very loud. Gorgeous place. So if you get an opportunity to go to Utila, it's definitely worth it to check that place out. That was some of the best accommodations that we've had as far as location to stay. Just wish the diving had been a little bit better. Would have been okay. So, Utopia Village, Utila, the island of Utila, in right next to the Roatan, right there off the Honduras. It's a Honduran island. Now, where we would like to go, we've kind of been talking about either Bonaire, which is one of the ABC islands. You got Aruba, Curacao, or Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. We've been to Curacao. Loved it. I would love to go back several times to Curacao, but we did want to go somewhere different. And remembering how much difficulty we had getting to Curacao, because you typically couldn't fly to it from like Houston or San Antonio. You had to fly to it out of Miami. So we ended up losing a day going on that trip. But Belize is a popular place to go, and we haven't been there. We know some friends who have gone diving there, and they speak highly of it. So where is Belize? So if you look in this map here, up in the upper left is where we are in Del Rio, Texas. And so where you see all the red circles, those are places that we've been to go scuba diving. My actual first saltwater experience, believe it or not, was the one all the way out there in the Atlantic Ocean. That red circle, that is St. Martin in the Virgin Islands there. That was my first saltwater experience. We actually did a vacation there while I was still in the Air Force, stationed at the Pentagon. And we ended up getting kind of suckered into a timeshare thing. And so we took our one and only vacation with that timeshare, going to St. Martin. And that was my first saltwater experience. I wasn't even actually certified yet. I only did the resort course. But it was awesome. I had a great time. Went there and did the resort course. I was the only person there. It was an Australian girl who was the instructor. And so since she found out or I had told her that I had actually done a lot of diving, just never got certified, she ran me through a few quick checks to make sure that I actually did know how to dive. And then she took me to spots that she normally likes to go. So I got to see things that were off the typical beaten path, which was awesome. So we've been in Boca Raton, Florida. We've been in the Florida Keys, all along there. A couple times to Key Largo, but Isla Morada, and then Key West. That's where we dove the Vandenberg. That was an awesome dive. And then we've been to Cozumel a couple of times. They're off of the Yucatan Peninsula. And Tara's first saltwater experience was right there in the middle of the Caribbean and Grand Cayman. We did a cruise out of Galveston that took us to Jamaica, to Grand Cayman, to Cozumel, and then back. And so her first experience, she hadn't been certified very long at all. And so her first experience in saltwater was in Grand Cayman, and those were some awesome dives. We wouldn't mind going back there too. And then if you look all the way down here, just off the coast of Venezuela, you see the circle around Curacao. You got Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire. And so we were looking at doing Bonaire, which you can see out of Miami. That's that's a long flight, certainly. And I think there are flights sort of out of San Antonio, and that's an even longer flight. But those are so expensive, and all of those that we found so far that I've looked up, they're an overnight. You can't get there on the same day, which is a pain. So and then Utila is there, really close to Belize, and that's, you see that red circle just below the yellow square or yellow rectangle by Belize. That's Utila, so that's off the Honduras. So Belize is where we're really kind of looking to go, and it's got a huge a massive coral reef system. Not as big as the Great Barrier Reef, but I think it's like second or third as far as one continuous coral reef system. So here is an aerial shot, or rather a satellite shot of part of that reef system. You see Lighthouse Reef, and there actually is a small reef above water where there really is, that there is actually a lighthouse. I'm like, how did they build that there? But you can see here in the center of the picture is the blue hole that everybody talks about. And you can see little dive boats headed away from the blue hole. Gives you an idea what that looks like. I mean, this is an impressive picture. And then here's a higher up satellite shot of that reef system. One big massive reef system. And it's all protected. It's all national resource. So why would we want to go there? Well, again, since this is very close to Belize, or real close to Roatan and Utila, they also sport frequent opportunities to swim with whale sharks. And you see why they're called whale sharks. And this is actually like a medium-sized one. A lot of these whale sharks do get to be so huge that you are dwarfed by them. And they don't eat, people or, meat. They basically they're like big nurse sharks. So they're very docile. But they are a shark, and so but they're gorgeous, having the spots and everything. It's just so impressive to swim next to something that large. Spotted eagle ray. I've got a pretty good video of one that we saw in, I want to say it was Cozumel. No, I think it was the Keys. I'm trying to remember. I'll have to look back. But I've got one where we were dropped into a reef area where we're all just like, okay, here are your parameters. Everybody just stay within this area, but you're kind of free to roam. And I saw this thing just kind of hanging there and went chasing after it and got some good video and a couple of good snapshots. This isn't it. This is much larger than the one I was chasing, but they are just beautiful. This is a spectacular shot. Again, the color of coral reefs is just, it's breathtaking. It's why we do this, why you need to get involved in the sport if you're not. The variety of life there, from fish to coral to vegetation, is just amazing. I am a big fan of wall dives. I don't care where it is, even Lake Amistad. I'm a big fan of wall dives. There's just something that makes you feel very, very tiny, and how big everything is when you drop off. You're cruising along the side of a wall and you realize it just goes endlessly below you, and you've got good visibility and you can see so far above you. The blue hole. So this, for some people, I'm sure would be kind of a bit claustrophobic, but it's amazing to realize that this kind of formation exists in a way that we can actually penetrate it safely. another view from inside the blue hole. I mean, just look how it drops, and you got the stalactites hanging down. Actually, I guess in this case that would be what was left over from lava burning through. Just gorgeous. I mean, it just dwarfs you. Okay, so that is why we want to go to Belize. Just one more opportunity to go somewhere that we haven't and experience some more diving in a way that we haven't. You know, we were talking a couple of podcasts ago about a group that was kind of encouraging people to dive different. And that's, first of all, I encourage you to dive, period. Getting an opportunity for a Discover Scuba course is very easy to do. If you live in the Del Rio area, you just got to let me know. We're going to try and set something up as the weather warms up here. We're going to be setting up some Discover Scuba opportunities where you can try this out in a pool just to see if it's for you. But I encourage you, find some place that's doing a Discover Scuba just to try it out if you never have. If you don't get hooked on it, I'll be surprised. If you've got somebody who's really, really good at instructing, at guiding you through the introductory process, you can't help but get bitten by the bug to do this. It's just so much fun, so worth it. That's why I became an instructor. It certainly didn't become one to make money. It was definitely so I could share the experience with other folks, get them enticed to do diving. It is easy. You just have a couple of little fears that your average person kind of has to come to grips with. And not everybody runs into those things, but you know, things like the clearing your mask underwater, it's not as spooky as you can make it out in your head. And then the whole thing with just making sure you can equalize, because it's important to make sure that you don't damage yourself while diving. And actually learning how to equalize your ears helps you just in free diving. I can't tell you how many people I've run into who are talking about, you know, when I'm diving off a diving board, or I'm trying to, if I'm out at the lake or somewhere and I see something I want to swim down to, you know, they're just breathing, snorkeling or whatever on the top. You know, they say, oh, but I get down too far, my ears hurt. And I'm like, I've got a solution for that. It's equalization. You got to do that before you actually get into any kind of serious depth. And they don't realize that's something you can do. It's a skill that we use in scuba diving, but you can use it for just regular free diving, for snorkeling and swimming. So it's just one of those skills that is multi-functional for you. But anyway, learning to scuba dive is easy. There are tons of celebrities. I should have put up the list of celebrities that you probably are surprised actually are avid scuba divers. And interesting, a lot of them, like Sandra Bullock, got into it because she was afraid of water. And so she was kind of approached it with the aspect of, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it all the way. I'm going to totally overcome this fear. So now she's an avid scuba diver, which is so cool. I'm not a tremendous fan of her acting, but I just think it's cool when somebody says, you know what, I'm gonna beat this. I'm going to be in charge. I think it's just awesome. So yeah, just definitely let us know if you are interested in trying this out, because we'll do it free of charge. Because it's just an opportunity to introduce you to the experience of scuba diving. All right, so we're, again, running a little bit long. And here I am all by myself without benefit of Scuba Bob, and I can talk to a wall. But I have a good time because I get to do what I want, say what I want, and I just enjoy it. It's recorded for posterity and all that good stuff. So anyway, we're winding down here, so let's go ahead and hit our administrivia. So our next dive club meeting is the 21st of March at Rudy's Restaurant at 7 p.m. Again, we always like to see folks there, so if you want to show up, just chat, have some good food, share your experiences, or share your interest as far as diving. If you are looking to try it out, you could find out some more information, see if there are any things that we need to share with you prior to getting involved in something like this. It's a good way to do it, just in a relaxed atmosphere, neutral environment, neutral corners, as they say. And then so we have also our Balmoral State Park trips, where we have a great time diving and camping and eating food and diving and eating food and having those Bluebell Grizzly ice cream bars. Are so awesome. We have those scheduled for the 17th through the 19th of May, the 14th through the 16th of June, July 19th through the 21st, and August 16th through the 18th. We also have basic open water classes scheduled for the 23rd to the 26th of May, 27th through the 30th of June, 25th through the 28th of July, 22nd through the 25th of August, and the 26th through the 29th of September. We'll also do advanced courses, rescue diver courses, etc. If we get interest, we just got to get folks who are expressing that they would like to do it. If you'd like to visit us, you can visit us at delriodiveclub.com, or better yet, hit us up on Facebook /Del Rio Dive Club. You can instant message us via Two Guys Who Dive on Skype, which is now integrated with Windows Live Messenger. Or you can send us email to tgwd@outlook.com. And, of course, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can seek me out at RobertCFP, or send me an email at robert.wade@setifox.net. And as always, we always love to hear from you. Love to see if you have any ideas, comments, questions, suggestions for the show. And you can always see us on YouTube afterward, because it takes about an hour or so to upload the podcast. I love this software from the aspect that we're using for the netcast that allows us to send this in as fast as I can send it out from my computer, as far as the bottom end HD at 720p, but also records it at the same time. So I'm immediately able to upload it to YouTube, Vimeo, etc. right afterward, and so it just takes their processing time. So within about an hour or so, the show's ready to watch on the net after the fact. Obviously, you can't interact with it then, but that's why we like to have you interact with us during the live podcast, so you can be recorded for posterity. So that pretty much does it for this week. We're looking forward to seeing you next week on another exciting, fun-filled, and fact-filled episode of Two Guys Who Dive. See ya.